The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the most super intelligent force of love possible forever. Amen. Is that godly enough? I heard somebody on a live stream. Hang on, let's fix these curtains before we get rolling. We're going to do it. Let's do it right. We truck driving. We loaded up. We're fueled up. Loaded up, fueled up. Got the caffeine. About to have the first sip of coffee. I expect if Drew's live and then if EBT enslaved, ensnared by tacos, I kid. If he's live after that, it ain't really gonna matter because it's gonna be a sparse crowd either way. Come on, Bubba, you got it. Oh, thanks. See, consideration. A little consideration goes a long way. He's gonna let me go first. Thanks, Bubba. Much appreciated. I was friendly to the folks in the truck stop since I was tapped into my essence before I went into the truck stop, and of course my essence being one with the most super intelligent force of love possible. So perhaps that's a bit contagious, right? Said, yay, truck driving to some non English speaking foreign born truckers, probably Mexicans born in Mexico. I've been ordering off of Amazon last night and this morning. Ordered some, the tariffs. The tariffs is a good way to stimulate the economy when consumer confidence is low, because I'm going to need some shoes at some point. And I'm like, well, you know what? I suspect over time, the prices on these shoes probably really not going to go up very much. And if they go up 10%, if I'm truck driving, I can still afford it. But, I've been wanting to try these cheapo Chinese shoes out, see what they're all about. I'm assuming they're Chinese. These $38 on sale, low top hiking shoes that appear to be, appear, you don't really know. I won't know till I get them, but appear to be made with quality materials at least. And reading the reviews, as long as both shoes are the appropriate size, it looks like we got a pretty good shot at it. So I said, well, shit, this is probably a good time to try those out. So that's economic stimulus in my case. Stimulate the Bezos bozo economy. Bozo Bezos. You're welcome, sir. We're on I-30 in Texas, about to be in Arkansas. And I can say it that way because I'm from Arkansas. Brazilian. Brazilian coffee out of the machine that grinds the beans. Not too bad. Too bad. Got the glass cleaned up. The bugs will find me. It's bug season in Arkansas and Texas already. It's already bug season. We got the fuel, the truck saving on fuel by taking its sweet time getting up to speed. So, in fact, it's taking so long that the speed limit in which it began speeding up it is no longer the actual speed limit, because now it's 65 for a work zone. So we got that going for us. What a blessing. What a blessing. Spread the love down there at the Loves. How about you? And people want to bitch about Gen Z and all of this. You know, got into a little chat with the Gen Z gal working in Loves, and how slow do I have to go to get you past me there, fella? Go on about your day. And maybe it's the nature of reading the internet, but they do seem a little more capable with the language than folks of my generation. She spoke quite formally at a certain point when a customer approached the register, and I don't remember how she phrased it. Kind of how I talk at times, using proper vocabulary and such. Refreshing, but not all of them are that way. And now that women are learning about all this stupid pickup artist stuff, negging. Now I'm getting negged at the fucking truck stop yesterday. Well, I don't tell them this, but I needed to use the restroom facilities, and I'm not trying to be in there with all that heavy breathing. These some of these obese truckers about to keel over. So I said, well, fuck it. I got shower credits. I'll just go use the shower, wash my hands, wash my face a little bit, do what I got to do. She was negging me, but she did it in a complimentary fashion, which people don't realize that's negging is not supposed to just be an out and out insult. It's supposed to be combined with a seeming, you know, compliment. Like, I really like your hair. Is it real? That's a neg. It's not just go up and insult the person just full out. So something about how smart I am, but clearly a neg. Because I've gotten in the habit of telling the folks before they scan my Loves card, well, it's going to say account not active, but then it's going to work. Which actually fooled the boomer, by the way, the obese boomer this morning at the fuel desk just a few minutes ago. He wasn't able to pick up what I was putting down. You know, I was like, yeah, it's going to say account inactive, but it's still going to work. And then he scans it, and he's trying to tell, and then and it doesn't work. And then we're thinking I don't have any refills on my card, which seems impossible. I've been buying so much TA Travel Center coffee lately and not using my refill credits. But then he's like, yeah, it says account not active. I'm like, oh, yeah, it still works, though. You know, and then, because I was about to pay cash. How about that? So one for Gen Z, one zero for the boomers, and then we'll call it a draw with that other. She might have been a millennial, though, now that I think about it. The nagger. I think she was a Gen Z. I'm sorry, millennial. Millennial. And then also I talked to like a 5'3", could have been trans, hard to say, but you know, if we were to assume its pronouns, you know, assume its gender, it would be male, right? So probably had you know, more than the biological amount of testosterone for, you know, a woman, but some of these fellas, man, never had a chance, if that is indeed a fella with you know, those levels of testosterone. But you know, seemed like a decent sort. And then when I delivered the load yesterday in Dallas Fort Worth area, they were training a new person while they're processing me at the gate. I'm like, yeah, I'll just stand here while y'all train the new help. Sure. Bathroom right there says out of order. And I'm like, yeah, that bathroom works. They know not to let truckers in there, which yeah, sure, that's fine. But you're going to make me stand here 20 minutes while y'all train the new gal. I might have to retreat to my truck temporarily. Shout out to the chat. Not that there's any chat yet. The disembodied lady voice AI admonished me for the first time for having my phone in my hand, which part of that is I almost never have my phone in my hand. I was trying to read a chat in the broad daylight yesterday. Probably it doesn't see me as well early in the morning when it's dark or late at night as it is for the few live listeners, I'm assuming. I highly doubt anybody is like me in that regard to have already gotten a full night's sleep. And all we got to do, the royal we, is drive about 500 miles and shut down for the day. That's it. Then tomorrow we drive, I think, about 550. These numbers could be off a little bit. I'm going from memory. And then we go to the truck stop for a 34-hour restart, which is, I always wondered that in truck driving. I said, why is it 34 hours? Because you would think 24 hours, 48 hours. What's this 34 hours? And I finally dawned on me one day, well, you take a 10-hour break no matter what. That's the break to get your regular clocks back, your 14 and your 11-hour drive time. So it's 20, it's a 10, which you're taking anyway, and it's a 24 hours off. So it's basically one full day off, if you think about it. 'Cause I'm taking the 10 anyway. It's not really 34 hours. It's 34 hours to satisfy the federal requirement to restart the 70-hour clock. But from my perspective, well, I'm taking 10 anyway. And it would keep the driver on the same schedule if they need to be on that same schedule. Because they normally would take a 10 and then start their day. Now it's take a 10, then take a 24, then start the day. Same shit. I'm in Texarkana. I think they've been doing road construction for 10 years in Texarkana. This is crazy. What is this? Y'all ever gonna finish this? Well, it's gonna finish because there's the Arkansas state line. So yeah, it's about to be over. If anybody remembers that famous picture from the Texas, when the Texas power grid melted down, and one side of the street was, was plowed and cleaned up or whatever, and then the other side of the street was all iced over. That was Texarkana, Arkansas, and Texarkana, Texas. So the Texas side was all snow and ice, and the Arkansas side was clear. Not exactly sure what that had to do with power outage, but whatever. That deep freeze, the Texas deep freeze. That's right. Slow merge your way in there, buddy. You can't ever be too cautious in this heaven or hell realm presently manifesting as a hell realm. So yeah, I understand why you would go higher than the freeway speed limit on the on ramp, but then when merging into traffic, be sure to go well below the posted speed limit. And eventually somebody will speed by them and they will realize, oh, I can actually go faster than 60. But they mistakenly, because they're on their phones, they mistakenly believe that truck up there is the flow of traffic, but it's 1:30 a.m. There is no flow of traffic. Now we're making a traffic jam. That happened to me in Houston too. It's funny. It's like, oh, as they're merging onto the interstate, I'm passing by, so I have to be the flow of traffic. It's like, well, actually, there's nothing in front of me, so there's really no reason to follow me, a slow-moving truck, indefinitely. That's not going to get us anywhere. Anyway, people love when I complain about the driving behavior, so I'll knock that off. Yes, sir. Yeah, shout out to old Drew World Order. I said, well, I'll see what he's talking about. And nothing against Drew. It's me, right? It's not you, it's me. Wherever I'm at in my consciousness, I can't process all these political memes. And every time I tune in lately, other than this time, well, no, he was doing like libs of TikTok, which is fine. I was into that a few years ago. But a lot of times it's political memes, Trump memes, just memes in general. Not really into memes. And are we getting out of this yet? So I'm finna speed up, Bubba. And he was showing this lib of TikTok, liberals of TikTok, and she was on about some crazy, foolish, devilishness, of course, as they are. and he said something about she needs to get in the church around some godly people. And I almost typed in the chat, but I said, well, let's not fuck up Drew's broadcast. I almost said there's godly people in the church, question mark. Is that where the godly people are there? Well, number one, let's back up. Number one, what's a godly person? And by the way, this is when I say religion is demonic, Christian churches are demonic. This is what I mean. And none of this is directed at Drew. I'm just talking about churchgoers in general. So if the person, and this is also what I mean by, if I view my life's purpose as service to the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, at a certain point I realize, well, I have no way of knowing ahead of time what's that going to look like. Because why would the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, why would it degenerate low enough to think like me with my human, logic and reason and all of it? It would be far above that, right? With intelligence. Therefore, the chances of me being able to have knowledge ahead of time of what will this service look like, how at the level of detail will it manifest, right? So let's just say a godly person, so called. Let's take what would be the conventional meaning, and then okay, well, there's a business, a 501c3 business, and there's a building, and the people who enter into that building on a regular basis and sit in the pews, they're godly because of that activity. I'm here to tell you, absolutely not. Now, they could still be godly, whatever that means. I haven't, and when I say we, I mean me. I haven't even defined that for the purposes of this discussion. I'm using their terminology, right? Or the system's terminology. I got all day, buddy. We're going to slow it down if you're going to follow me. You can follow me to the promised land back there, metaphorically, tongue in cheek, but we're going to do it at about 62 instead of 72 if you just determined to follow me, sir. There you go. 65. That's his low. That's as low as he's willing to go is 65. 65. He want to go 72. Now, is he going to go 72 when he's boldly cutting his path through the world? See, when it's his ass in the sling, potentially, if the state police comes looking for speeders, right? Looking for commercial because he's a hot shot. If they looking for people driving commercial vehicles over the speed limit, is he going to be bold enough to go that same speed in front of us? Let's find out. Perhaps I've emboldened him. So back to the godly thing, that's wrong. And so Mr. Benton, who's set up for effectiveness, says, well, that's not correct, sir. And again, not directed at Drew, just in general. That's an incorrect way to approach a problem. So if the problem is this person is having all these crazy thoughts, they're on all these psychotropic medications. I'm talking about the libs of TikTok lady. And then, okay, let's say that, well, and let me back up a little bit. He's right in a way. Actually, it would be to her benefit, most likely, to get into a church where somebody like Drew and Drew's wife and these others could say, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we saw your TikToks. Like, what is this? That would be beneficial for her. It's what I'm resistant to is that's where you go to find so-called godly people. What does that mean? Does that merely mean people who, again, have a desire to discover, as I would say, with the self-realization and all of this that I've been talking about, would that be a place to go to learn how to get in touch with the most super intelligent force of love possible that's in me? By the way, what does the book that the church uses say? The book that the Christian church uses says the kingdom of God is within me. And if God is loved, and then God is the most super intelligent force of love possible, then that is in me. Do you see how I just used logic and reason to say a thing that would have to be true if I'm supposed to believe that the Word of God means the King James Version of the Holy Bible in the English language? as many Christians would assert a version of. They say that you read the word, be in your word, and but they mean written Bible. See, using their own rules of a game that they did not even realize they had themselves invented, I've defeated them in a way. Because now what's my reason for entering into the building? What's my reason for patronizing the business known as a Christian church? Hmm. Now I might go in there and preach, but I'm gonna preach a tent revival sermon. I'm gonna set the room on fire, and then I'm gonna leave. But but if they ever invited me to preach at their church, I'd go up there and say, "Well, I'd like to preach a sermon. I got a word for you." However, I'm looking out at some inappropriately attired folks, so I'm just gonna wait while y'all go home and change. Because I understand y'all put that sign on the outside of the building that says "Come as you are," but that's not my understanding of Scripture. My understanding of Scripture is Satan will take you however you are. God demands submission. Now, can love demand anything? Can the most super intelligent force of love possible make demands? Well, doesn't seem like that's possible. So now, is the God of the Bible a mixture of the two, of the enemy and the? Is it somehow a mixture of the most super intelligent force of love possible, and then also simultaneously the lowest levels of evil possible? I don't know. Now, apparently, in the Old Testament, Jehovah or Yahweh behaves in ways that seem to be quite the opposite of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. But then again, I'm speculating. Again, we're talking super intelligence, right? So I have all of these assumptions about the nature of love, and I know some things about it. So my knowing at present, which is subject to change, which would mean it wasn't in fact knowing, but then the Kybalion, if that means anything, would assert that well, actually, all truth is merely half truth. But then, wouldn't that make what people believe to be God, the concept of a God, wouldn't that also make that concept a half truth at best? But then, what they're like, well, yeah, but God is, that would be a singular, like a oneness, right? Well, but in a realm of duality, is that possible? I don't fucking know. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I can't call it, as they say. But question everything they say, except for, don't question the idea that that's where the godly people are, is in the church, the business, the business of churchianity. Don't question that. Don't question what I just talked about. That's blasphemy. That's heresy. Oh, is it? Is Sky Daddy going to spank my bottom? I say, now you're really stepping in it. Well, we'll see. I'm feeling pretty good about it as I say these words. I'm feeling pretty good about it. And you know what? If there was a Sky Daddy that would spank a human's bottom, some humans would say, "Spank me, Daddy." Ha 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 ha! Woo! That's a human for you, Jack. Get the road, Jack. And apparently, I keep coming back evermore, according to that soul trap. Well, the godly people going to church would say, "Well, that's not possible. This is a one shot deal," and maybe it is. Hey, if this is a one shot deal, I really like my chances. They think I like to brag on my spiritual progress. I say, well, you know what? I'm assuming I've repeated this experience, however many times it took to be born into this life with the capacity to make all this progress. You gonna tell me I did all this in a zero sum game, one shot fucking simulation, one shot trial, one trial only? Well, damn, I'm really kicking ass. I read some books, walked around for a few years, and thought about shit, and here I am. Damn. Bless, not damn, bless. Bless. Woo. Stay in your lane, Bubba. Stay in your lane. So, yeah, ordered us It's only 10% off, but there's something about that red banner on Amazon that says limited time deal. Now I'm able to resist it, but the fact is, I also look at the regular price, and I'm like, well, it's only 10%. So it's not really much of a savings. But if it goes up 10% or more, see, the tariffs is actually economic stimulus, but not in the way that people think. It's got me thinking, well, now I'm incentivized to buy this now because, yes, I do want the cheap Chinese goods, right? In a way, if these are indeed Chinese or wherever they were made, maybe Indonesia, Vietnam, I don't know. I got to be a little stylish. They wouldn't have been looking at me like I'm on the menu when I was in LA if I didn't have a little bit of style to me, a little bit of a flair. So they got a little bit of style to them for hiking shoes, anyway. And it's like, yeah, I could get these $80 Merrills that I like, or these $130 mid top Salomons, and I know the Salomons will hold up. The $80 Merrills will look a little better, and I might like. They might have some additional functionality, perhaps with the breathability and the same water resistance. But I might just destroy them in a month, just like the other ones. Right. And in fact, I have some leather Merrills right now that I paid. I used to buy on sale hiking shoes, low top hiking shoes, and they're really not good for summer because they don't breathe. But now they're up to over $100. They used to be like 70, and I destroy them in like 6 weeks. So what do you do about that? Everybody leaves because I'm talking about my feet. Well, that's okay. Everybody meaning half of the audience of two. Maybe one day YouTube will just let me sit here on a zero. We'll call it a streaming career, right? Call it a career. And I don't mean to, not that it matters, by the way. I'm not going to. There was a time when potentially I might have pulled a few viewers if I went live when Drew or EBT went live. Those days are over also. So in fact, I'm mostly talking to the replay. Uh, and as much as people might accuse me of, whatever arrogance, pride, vanity, and yeah, there's something to that, but I don't have a problem looking at the views and the channel and the subscriber exodus. If it does bother me, I realize that I'm feeling sorry for myself, probably for other reasons. Right? Who cares? It's the fucking internet. It's Alphabet, Google, YouTube's help it. And I went ahead and signed, reactivated my Audible because I'm finding less and less content to listen to on YouTube. That's probably not YouTube's fault. Shout out to the chat. I see a chatter. No, I don't, because garbage ass StreamYard has put a button that says share your referral link, and it blocks the most recent comment. Right. So I can't say for sure that this will be the last month I'll use StreamYard, but I would rather just buy phone service. If you think about it, I could think about this, for what the lowest level, or don't, what the lowest level of StreamYard costs, uh, I could actually just buy a month of phone service on a separate phone after I get my new phone. I'm pretty sure I figured out a way to get that Pixel 9 on special. So I can just pay a monthly unlimited internet and just stream directly with the fucking YouTube app. And yeah, I like my vibrating icon, but I don't like it that much. Right. And that would enable me to have a completely separate phone number for all this truck driving BS. It would be nice at times to turn off my work phone, right, and not be bothered on my phone. And I've had that arrangement in the past. It was lovely. Steer all the bullshit to my work phone where it can be properly ignored at times. Had the broker email me out of nowhere, wanting to know what time I left the shipper. I was like, shit, I'm done for the day, is what I thought to myself. But if this was on a separate phone, I'd be in airplane mode, partner. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know you existed. I wouldn't even be aware of your existence out there in the ether. What is this? I should not be this accessible to a random bozos, which is ironic, and the definition of ironic, as I'm live on the internet speaking these words to bozos, no offense intended, via Alphabet, Google, YouTube's help it. Any bozo in the ether that manages to stumble this way, right, can hear me if they have ears to hear. So my definition of a godly person would be a person who has taught themselves to correctly identify within themselves, in alignment, mind, body, and spirit. And the body will hold a person back, in my experience, meaning improper diet and such. But I'll get into that. But to me, that would be, because in order to reach the criteria of whatever in the heck a godly person is, well, isn't that only achievable via my own creative force? Because if they're the only thing that exists is the present moment, as I've asserted, then in order to have a godly person present in the realm, would that not require the individual? And I'm not claiming to be this, by the way, but if that's a possibility, even it's already a big if. Would that not only be achievable via uh, me in this present moment, via my creative force, birthing that into each new moment, a so-called godly person, whatever that is? And then further, I would say, uh, would that not represent a spiritual victory? Spiritual. Some of my enunciation has fallen by the wayside, so I'm beginning the process of reclaiming it. If anybody listens to old recordings of me or live streams or on Drew's channel, yeah, I have an accent, but I'm also pronouncing the majority of the words correctly. That's no longer the case. So I would assert the realm will teach us that spiritual surrender is not an option in any context. And I would say, well, in the context of a spiritual war, and seemingly we seem to have near consensus, we meaning the people that come to these certain types of channels. That's the we, I mean. Peanut gallery. And how am I to create moment by moment a being that is performing in the dystopia, in the heaven or hell realm, presently manifesting as a hell realm, in the simulation, if that's what it is, in the matrix, if that's what it is? How else am I to perform that way other than to spiritually surrender within myself? Because the Bible would say the kingdom of God, the kingdom of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, if God is love, and if that's what love is at the highest level, would it not be required that I submit to that force within myself, connect with it, align with it inside of myself, where my spirit, within my sphere of influence, my only true source of power, or at least the beginning of my ability to connect with source or sources of power, right? To then uh, bring that anew into the unfolding reality moment by moment. Would that not be spiritual surrender? And would that not, what is birthed, would that not represent spiritual victory and a high level spiritual warrior, as we saw yesterday on the afternoon stream, where spiritual attacks came at me and uh, I prevailed at the level of a demonstrating my abilities as a spiritual warrior. Hmm. But back to where I started the godly people in church discussion. See, I'm set up for effectiveness. So the moment I recognize that if my goal is to bring forth into each new moment a person that, not that I would ever want to be described this way, and it's, to me, it's a bit of a cringe. It even kind of sounds cringe to even say godly person. I almost never use that terminology, and when I do, I feel a little dirty, right? Almost as if I'm being mocked in a way by the enemy. Hmm. Perhaps that's what's happening in those moments. However, when I look at effectiveness in the real world, because that's my particular form of undiagnosed fake autism slash super high functioning retarded person, right? Is if it's not if the moment I recognize a particular path or strategy or action can never prove effective in the real world, I abandon it. But the fact is, in the example of the lib from TikTok, her goal is probably not the goal that I have. So, yes, it arguably would be better for her to go to a church so that people can tell her to her face, what are you doing? This is crazy the way you're behaving, right? Leave the echo chamber, so called. Apparently, it's actually correctly called something else, but I don't have time for that on this broadcast, right? And then head over to the church where people can at least help ground you in, not you, the listener, help ground her rather in reality. Which, by the way, when I say a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, and that's true, it's far worse. They want a man. Part of that is just being in the presence, and I don't mean a male, right? I'm talking about an actual man, because that male, the 5'3", very little testosterone male that I wasn't quite sure could have been a they them non-binary, biological woman, but most likely a biological male. That's not the same thing I am at the level of the status. So a lot of times people say men, but they're referring to one of those creatures. And I'm like, well, actually, no. I'm talking about a man who is in touch with his own masculinity and has achieved the status of man, which he will lose if he behaves in ways such as the TV show Branded. And the theme song tells it all. All but one man died there at Bitter Creek. And it shows Chuck Connors, the rifleman, but not the rifleman in this series. And he's getting his rank, his military rank. They're taking his manhood by physically tearing his military rank off of his shoulders. Right? He's not a man anymore because he's believed to be a coward, and that's what the show's about. And they say he ran away. Right? So instead of executing him in a time of war, right, and I believe this was during the Indian Wars, instead of executing him as a prisoner of war, they said, actually, we're going to punish him. He's going to live in disgrace as a coward who's not a man. But he knows he's a man, but he's not treated like a man. This is what I'm talking about. So the general public does not have these concepts. And I grasped these concepts on the one level my whole life, but then on another level, intellectually, way back in the, many years ago, I had these concepts at hand in my logical mind, right? Because I am the smartest person that sounds the dumbest. Did we? Well, as while I'm bragging on my smartness, did I fail to? I failed to place the water close at hand. So now it's here in the sleeper somewhere, but I can't grasp it. So hilarious to be a human and bragging while bragging about one's intelligence, realizing that I've done a foolish, unintelligent action this morning. Oh well, such is life. It's not like I'm not about to drink another cup of coffee, so do I really need to rinse my mouth out with water on account of my teeth? Like, yeah, okay, sure. And they say he ran away, branded, marked by a coward chain. What do you do when you're branded? When you fight for your name? And then it ends with, wherever you go for the rest of your life, you will know you're a man. And then I always love it when the actual boomers are like, wow, I thought that was before your time. It's like, yeah, man, reruns. Gen X watched all your shows on reruns, at least the ones that were popular enough to be reran. Right. At least the ones that were popular enough to be reran. Yeah. Coffee's a little too hot. Hot coffee in a proper copper coffee pot. She sells seashells by the seashore. Best get back on your tongue twisters, Bubba. Or just see the streaming career, not that it's a career, see it pass away anyway, as will everything. Live streaming, YouTube is dead and is dead because it belongs to this realm. Anything that will not escape this place is dead. The tariffs are dead. The so-called economy is dead, by which is defined as anything that will not survive this place. The kingdom of God within me, the most super intelligent force of love possible, cannot be destroyed by this place and existed before it came to this place. And I don't know where it's going after this, although I have my suspicions. And I'm referring to my soul or essence. But I'm 100% certain it's getting up out of here. Hence the phrase, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here. This is not my home. And I've been knowing that my whole life. I ain't from whatever this place is. I did not originate here. Matriculate, perhaps. Originate, absolutely not. Nope. Nope. I'm the soundboard. I'm the soundboard. So what else did I order? Oh, my favorite camping, little backpacking stove went on sale for 50% off, which is interesting to be a human in the realm, facing the mundanities and realities of daily life of consumer society within a consumer society, and all of this. Oh my God, the prices! Oh my God, the inflation. Well, yes, that's correct, but only in certain types of purchases, such as food, energy prices, right? The actual CPI, Consumer Price Index, is doing not so shabby in a way. Certain goods, I'm buying what may very well turn out to be quality hiking shoes for $38 plus sales tax, Virginia sales tax, and I'm paying $19.99 for what I know to be a high quality stainless steel uh, dual fuel stove, right? Portable backpacking stove. And I then paid $7 for another adapter since my adapter is getting old and doesn't quite make as tight of a seal as before, although it still works. A $7.25 adapter to run the stove on butane canisters that are available at many stores, including many truck stops. Not the green propane bottles. Not a fan of those. In fact, I feel like based on the money that they cost, the butane goes a lot farther, at least for boiling water, maybe running a skillet. But then, why not go electric? Well, the portability is nothing with electric because because it's Mad Max, but I've been predictably programmed that it's gonna go full Mad Max, meaning Tina Turner in a fuzzy bikini or whatever, a fuzzy onesie, a furry onesie, uh, Thunderdome style, right? And I would say this is that. It just doesn't look the way we were taught. It's more of the more cyberpunk style of movies. It's more a little more Terry Gilliam's Brazil, and not the movie 1984, but the book 1984. It's a little more of that than the because Mad Max looks like a fun time. At least by the time we make it to Thunderdome, I would say they say it's going to go. I would say this is Mad Max, but it's more like just the Road Warrior, right? And then certainly not the the recent Tom Hardy Mad Maxes. Certainly not those. So it's the Road Warrior, the original, no jobs, you know, everybody's poor and roaming bandits. At least according to media accounts, may indeed be on the verge of knowing your wife, having carnal knowledge of your wife, right? Which I don't know. Some of these women, some of these godly women, godly defined as church going, some of them have and are divorcing their husbands, and some of them are, you know, have been letting foreigners in the back door, and I don't mean her back door. I mean the back door of the house when the husband is at work, presumably. Right. Of course, that's always been a thing, has it not? So when I talk about properly identifying within my sphere of influence, my so-called power center, uh, or more correctly, it's actually something, and this is very difficult for people to accept. Again, especially in a so-called truth community, where how often do we, the audiences for these live streams, how often do we hear a panelist or panelists, plural, loop into we level problem solving as if there's a body of individuals that comprise a mass that's then able to be given a task or tasks and, deputized to go out and get shit done in the real world, which is just simply not the case until I can be shown such a group, right? Now I've had people claim, "Oh, it exists. You're just not a part of it." Okay, so now I'm ridiculed because you think there's this ad hoc grassroots online network of people that can be called into action. Well, I will believe it when I see it, but I do see the tactic of, oh, well, I must be in the out group, right? Shout out to Brother Austin, aka the Yerk Fellow, for covering in group, out group dynamics. Oh, okay, well, I must be in the out group then. So imagine my shame. Meanwhile, I've pretty much been the the dynamic driving force of all of my peer groups my whole life for the most part. Not always, but more often than not. So yeah, I'm sure I'm in the out group. I'm sure that's what's happening here. It's me that's not one of the cool kids. Okay, sure. When I know for a fact some of them, not you, the listener, when I know for a fact some of them never made it to the back of the school bus. I made a beeline for the back of the school bus the moment I thought I could get away with it. And I was the smallest kid in school at the time, as far as the boys anyway. The moment the whoever was scary enough in the back of the bus wasn't on the back of the bus anymore, I made a beeline for the back of the bus. Some folks some folks in these live chats, not this one, but other live chats, never one time made it to the back of the bus with the cool kids. So uh, you could say that for somebody else because that has not been my experience. And I remember as I inched my way further towards the back of the bus, at a certain point, what was scary was, hey, kid, smell my finger, like for real. But knowing that some kids will smell the finger because the guy claims that it was in, you know, a portion of the female anatomy. But looking back on it, I wasn't smart, and I didn't smell the finger, by the way. Who grows? But looking back on it, they probably they probably had it up their ass, and then wanted to laugh at the kid for smelling the finger. I just now figured that out. That's hilarious. I guess I knew it was a trick on some level, but then I guess deep inside myself, I figured, well, I'll just wait and smell my own fucking fingers. I know it's gross. I shouldn't even talk that way, but that was the thought process at the time, right? A 12-year-old Benton, or however old he was. So back to the we level problem solving. And that's, by the way, I shouldn't say by the way, but in my view, when a person exhibits that behavior on a live stream, on a panel, especially if it's somebody that's been around for a few years, to me, it's an affirmation that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because so much of what I would consider to be common sense, which is not a thing, by the way, but from my perspective, what I consider to be obvious common sense would be to fully grasp basic fundamentals. And a basic fundamental is, how can a presenter or panelist refer to we level problem solving when no such we exists? What are you talking about? Meanwhile, even if that existed, the panelist has not been tasked with coming up with solutions. It's the mind attempting to trick the mind by telling itself, well, I'm able to come up with a potential solution, therefore there's nothing to worry about, because all of the problems that bozo Benton keeps bringing up, well, my mind is able to churn out a potential solution. And I would say, yes, sir. And that's the process of repression. And repression is always harmful to the individual, because based on the problem solving thought forms that will never bear fruit in the physical, that's my assertion, therefore can never prove effective, which is why I ignore them entirely. Well, based on that, now there's no reason to experience fear, trepidation, and anxiety and other negative states around the mere existence of these social problems that have been in existence for my entire life. When I left my mama's womb, when I passed through my mama into the realm back in 75 or so, they tell me. I guess I'll take their word for it. The math seems to math. You're welcome. Let me compliment the few, the proud, the live listeners, because you are not hearing this level of discourse. You will find bits and pieces of this discourse. You will not find this level of discourse anywhere. If you find it, let me know, and I'll say, wow, I finally found someone else doing that same thing I'm doing. And every time one of my listeners, not that they belong to me, but anytime, because historically, listeners have emailed me videos of other content they listen to, and I've listened to some of it, and I've never, ever heard anything that matches my level of discourse. Now, I have in certain arenas, I've heard spiritual stuff that actually outpaces my spiritual discourse, but not in combination with other topics. Right. I haven't heard that person who can do the high level spiritual discourse who can also give a high level breakdown of the psychology and nature of advertising and marketing, and why our psychologies operate the way that they operate with respect to marketing and advertising. See? Nobody puts it together like Ben. I'll take that back. Somebody else who talks braggadociously at times, uh, and claims to be the cream of the crop, but in a specific way. King Stephen, I would say, is up there. I'll go ahead and give credit where credit's due. King Stephen. Let's give credit where credit's due. Anyway, let's not be too self-congratulatory, Mr. Benson. And I wonder, it just struck me how often I've seen a live stream of a panel channel show up in my feed, and then I click it, and they're talking about me. So I'm starting to suspect that when a particular channel or content creator is mentioned, that more notifications go out to people who are likely to click on the stream. So should I just start saying the name of all of these channels, and would that then increase the amount of viewers? I don't know, almost like a hashtag, or a tag rather. It probably works that way. Don't mind the coffee slurping. But let's get back to what I wanted to talk about, the we level of problem solving. And again, this is why the individual in a so-called truth community has such difficulty accepting what I'm asserting, is because So let's be clear about the internalization versus an externalization. Well, who benefits or what benefits if the individual psychology has already been designed to where individually folks mistakenly believe that they have power of influence external to themselves, meaning outside of their own energy spheres, meaning that they are in fact a bold force for change and positivity in the external realm around them. Well, what would benefit from that person acting on that belief? So if what I'm asserting is true, and in fact, virtually my only power is at least initially within myself, because some might say, well, what about the Most High? Well, I'm not that, but I am that in a way, right? We're getting real close to blaspheming, but I don't know that I'm too worried about that necessarily. At least the fleshly Benton, who the part of Benton that's capable of fearing God, right, might be worried, perhaps, because love can't fear God, right? Whatever I even mean by God in that context. So if I drop the straight knowledge and truth on somebody and say, well, actually, you have almost no power outside of yourself in this realm, meaning externally. Well, why does the being put up such resistance? Because the realm understands the nature of the individual is of a rebel, if in fact the individual is a descendant of Adam, which may be the case, it may not be. What does that even mean? However, and the design of the psychology from day one in this matrix, if I may, the design is to do what? To serve the system. And the system, the enemy, the lowest levels of evil possible, the lowest levels of vibrational energy would say, yeah, I designed your psychology and installed it from day one. Of course I have you captured, bozo. Look at you, like a puppet on the strings. Even me, for years. Dance, monkey, dance. Dance, monkey, dance. And boy, did I dance. Danced a jig with a grin plastered to my face. So how can the being practice if the being psychological design, makeup, and all of that being created by the system to serve the system's own purposes and installed, by the way, via the system, the socialization process, the government indoctrination centers known as public schools. Uh, sure, go ahead and homeschool them, but you better make sure they're not holding a smartphone connected to the internet while you do it, because that's also a government indoctrination center, right? And I would assert that the design of the psychology and the operation of the psychology precludes the individual from truly internalizing and accepting the notion that there's no power. There's effectively no power outside of the individual's sphere of influence. And that's what causes the we level problem solving. It's a refusal to internalize and go within the power center inside and to only serve the system by externalizing. And until an individual knows that and apprehends and grasps and works with the concept of internalization versus an externalization, the individual cannot progress. in the ways that they may wish to progress. And it's a big leap to even assume that the individual wants to progress. Maybe they just want to go on panels and hear themselves talk. I don't know. Most of them don't come around here no more, since we're not dropping links on any sort of regular basis. Sometimes they pop in and just say link question mark, meaning why is there not a link pinned? What is this? I got stuff to say. All right, well, okay. Good to know. Hmm. Meanwhile, meanwhile, but do you see the plight of the individual? And this was my plight, and it could be your plight, the listener. And if it is, you know, uh, this can be overcome. But how is it overcome? Through a through transcendence. What is transcendence? It's the process whereby the limitation I'm speaking on, the psychological limitation of externalizing when it's appropriate to internalize, it's achieved within oneself via transcendence of the limitation, right? So once the being learns how to transcend limitations, that's then a technology that is repeatable in other arenas, that is applicable to other concepts and other practices. And by the way, back to effectiveness in the real world, which begins in my estimation with effectiveness in my sphere of influence within me. Effectiveness is when we find something that we know works, we go with it till the fucking wheels fall off. Such as back in the day, I might be playing 2-on-2 half court basketball at my apartment complex in 1995 and still had my basketball skills and my athleticism back then. And I kept whoever thought they could guard me, because they're not, there's just somebody that lives in the apartment complex and said, okay, let's join a basketball game. And every single time I just fake to the right and take my first step to the left and blow by them and make a layup, they slap me in my kidneys as I go by them. So much so that as I'm taking the ball out, I look them directly in the eyes and I say, I'm going to fake right, but then I'm going to go left. So pretty pleased with sugar on, and what's in parentheses, pretty pleased with sugar on top. Don't slap me in my kidneys, if you don't mind. And I go around them on the left. They're right yet again, and get slapped in the kidneys yet again. Because until they demonstrate they can stop this move, I'm going to it every time. See, until they demonstrate they can stop it, then we go to another move, or we develop another move. See, so in a way, the spiritual attacks of yesterday, right? In a way, that's the realm forcing me to develop new ways of spiritual combat, right? And this is the like Buddhic or Hindu or Eastern so-called, Confucius say version of, well, an enemy is actually a blessing. Well, it's all blessings, so yeah, I guess so. But that's what they mean, you know. To maybe that's what love thy enemy means. It means love the thing that's making you, that you are able to use if you got the gumption to make yourself a higher level spiritual warrior. And if there's a God, like the Bible says, right? If there's a sky daddy and a heavenly father in the way the Bible says, what would that, and again, not speaking for God, I'm guessing, what would that thing want more than the highest level spiritual warrior possible? In a biblical context, wasn't that what Jesus was? What would Jesus do? I don't know, probably become the highest level spiritual warrior he was able to. I'm pretty sure that's what Jesus would do. Oh, that's right. That's looks like what he done. And they're saying, well, yeah, he's over there on his channel saying he's Jesus. No, but I'm saying I'm way closer to it than the vast majority of everybody I run into on this platform. Now that doesn't mean I'm very close to it at all, but let's say it correctly. I'm way less far away from that ideal than virtually everybody I run into, because I got Drew World Order simultaneously talking about sending this lib a TikTok to uh, be around the godly folks at the church, while he himself has a concept of a cuck chair, and in some ways is drawing glee and amusement from thinking about a otherwise grown ass male sitting in a corner with a metaphorical dunce cap on, crying tears of embarrassment while his woman is plundered before him. Right? This is sick and depraved and twisted. And you know what? I had that concept too. And I feel myself, I feel my consciousness, my awareness, and the level I'm vibrating at within myself. I feel it degenerating within me as I say these words. And it may be the last time you ever hear me say those words, because I'm less of what I otherwise am by thinking and speaking that way. And I wasn't thinking that way until I decided I wanted to make a point. And how did I make the? By the way, how did I make the point? Through accusing a brother, right? So how could it not? How could it not lower? Cause my vibration to lower? If now I'm the accuser, question everything. Now I'm the accuser. See, which is what another title for the wicked one, Satan, Lucifer, all of this. So now it's various spiritual practices within myself to get back up to whatever level I just degenerated from temporarily, or degenerated into. Let's get back to where at least what I was when I started the stream, mostly working with the tissues and a particular part of my body, which again probably also helpfully releasing some of this repressed negative energies, which need to leave anyway. Because this world, and I'll finish up since I already brought up the metaphor. See, this world honors the bull because he's dominating the woman and he's dominating the fella in the cup chair. In this realm, and I'm actually realizing this for the first time. You're welcome, by the way. And this is the value of these live streams. But let's make the point before I congratulate myself too much. Right, that would be fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line and not actually scoring the touchdown. So this realm honors the yang energy, right, of the bull to assertively go out, take the bull by the horns, make the world your bitch, right, and accomplish everything that will lead to fulfillment via having money, being of status, right, being able to live a life where the Joneses are going to want to keep up with you, right? Consume, MAGA, make America great again. All that means is make us where we're able to worship the God of consumerism at the highest levels possible. That's all that means. Let's put our boy Trump in there with the Hail Mary long shot that we'll get back to what we believed the 80s and 90s were, which what were they? They were a period of time that led to a temporary affluence for a limited period of time that has passed away, the boom bust cycle. So yeah, let's all worship the yang energy worships the boom cycle. Boom, there's a bull in your wife's ass. Please forgive the graphic terminology, and I don't mean you, the listener, but sometimes, and I could be a comedian. That's fucking hilarious. The only thing that would preclude me from being a stand-up comedian is I have no idea that's going to be fucking hilarious ahead of time. I don't know. I don't know. So my apologies for the blue nature of the humor there. Right. But this is yang and nothing but yang. Yang, 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 yang. How about the yin, partner? Where my yin at? Because while y'all out there yanging on the football field, metaphorically, maybe I'm out here, maybe I'm yinning with the cheerleaders. See? And we're talking about astrology. And I'm not banging your girlfriend because I've never banged any of my fellas ladies ever. Hey, I just spent $40 at Amazon. How about that? That's how much this realm is operated at the level of commerce. I'm conducting business and don't even know I'm conducting business. Right. Now we didn't have male cheerleaders, of course, but and I don't know that I would have signed up to be one, but in a vacuum wouldn't have bothered me. Oh, you mean I get to hang out with these these ladies with these athletic bodies while y'all are out tackling each other? Okay, sounds all right to me. You mean upskirt is part of the program? Okay, that's going to be a form of degenerate pornography in the future. Whatever. Or I'll probably just ride this skateboard and play basketball until eventually one of the cheerleaders asks me out on a date, which is what happened. Either way. So what I would say is, if you look at the Tao or you look at the dual nature of the realm, this realm would teach people, and a lot of church-going Christians would say, well, the scenario that's described with the two men and the one woman, it's really only shameful to be the one party that's in the corner. When I'm here to say, no, the whole arrangement is shameful. The entire arrangement is shameful. If there's shame. Again, the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level cannot experience shame. Right. That's not a thing that can happen. Now, the reality is, and I don't even like this term, but every single one of my close male friends that had a girlfriend or a wife, could I have cucked him if I wanted to? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't mean with him literally present. I mean, if you look at the definition of the term cuckold, now I might not actually be fertile, but, you know, could I have at least uh, known his girlfriend or wife carnally? Absolutely. And 0% of the time I chose to act on that because what makes a man? What makes a man is it's his code, and a man's code is particular to that man. And part of my code is if you and I, if you're a man and I'm a man, and you got a woman and I got a woman, even if I don't have a woman, I won't have nothing to do with your woman at those levels. And in fact, once y'all break up, I still won't have nothing to do with your woman. And guess who knows that? His woman. Because women are fucking experts in our masculinity or lack thereof, folks. Women are the realm's foremost experts in all things masculinity, and they can detect my code and my principles. It's sorry for yelling and autistically screeching into the microphones, but they know that. And guess what? They find it attractive. Of course they do. How could they not? And then, by the way, this is also a characteristic that if she's going to depend on me, right? A woman needs a man like a man, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. But if it really does go full Mad Max, like it looked like it might do during the fake pandemic, and now I'm in Walmart and some of these broads are looking at me like, well, wait a minute, maybe we do need a man. And there goes one right there. We just seen him drive this 18 wheeler into the Walmart parking lot, get out all fucking sweaty, not sweaty necessarily, but all grimy. And, we can tell he can do a day's work. And, that big rig just sure does look powerful and comforting and a source of security. I mean, this, again, yeah, this makes no logical sense. Well, what's logic got to do with it? When it comes to dating and relationships, women only act on their emotions. And yes, they will tell you with their logic and reason that that's not the case. Absolutely not, ladies. 100% of a woman's decision making when it comes to dating and relationships is made with her emotions. 100%. I didn't make it that way. Don't kill the messenger. There's always exceptions to everything. But that is effectively the case, ladies. And you know it about yourselves too. I ain't telling you nothing new. But yeah, can a lady use all sorts of logic to tell you why that's not the case? Sure. And what I'll counter with is you're accessing a woman's logic, which has absolutely nothing to do with her actions in the context of dating and relationships. So what are we even talking about? Why listen to her in the first place? Well, listen to her if she's your partner, and that's what needs to happen uh, at times. But the fella telling you this was in a successful marriage of 10 years, by the way. We weren't married for 10 years. We only dated for a year. And people say, how'd that work out for you? Worked out fucking great for both of us, actually. Was it meant to stand the motherfucking test of time? Is it a failure if it ends? Well, guess what? It's going to end anyway. The marriage is dead because it belongs to this place. So what are you even talking about? Don't miss me with that bullshit. Meanwhile, there were times she'd come home from work and forget that she can't talk to me like she talks to the gals down at the clinique counter. And I'd say, well, first thing, you can't talk to me like you talk to them gals at work. Number one. Number two, I understand that you want to vent, but I'm not your girlfriend. I'm your man. So you're going to have to go find one of your girlfriends to tell this to, right? Because I can't girl talk with you. Now, I recognize girl talk. I might be willing to girl talk. I can't girl talk with my woman, right? And when a man understands and is able to work with all of these dynamics and is also able to compete against other men and best them in various ways, as I was, and makes high levels of testosterone, some women, now most women have the good sense to run the other way when they see me coming. And that's 3 out of 4 of them want absolutely nothing to do with me. And I respect that because they have an agenda and they see, well, this person is never, ever going to give us what we need on our agenda. Meaning what? Money, property, children, right? It's never going to happen. But then 1 out of 4 women, it's like, hey, we like the cut of his jib. And it's probably more like 15%, realistically, are foolish enough to find Benton alluring in certain ways. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Which, by the way, that's all That's all flirting and all this negging bullshit is what the women don't know. When I go into the truck stop yesterday and the millennial chick negs me, well, my mind will eventually come up with the appropriate response. So she said some version of making fun of me for my intelligence. The proper comeback is don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Now, she might not be old enough to get that reference from advertising. That's not my problem. So if a person ever busts my balls, if a lady ever busts my balls in that same way, now I have the response. So I'm not. That's what I mean by I'm kind of an idiot in the moment. I'm a bit of a moron in the moment. Doing that now, bitch. I'm way ahead of you. I already noticed and was already making sure that's the case. But thank you anyway, AI overlords. Ha ha ha. And I know y'all probably can't hear the voice because of the noise cancellation. I might go back to my other earbuds for these broadcasts because they don't cancel the noise uh, at all. Really, there's no software noise canceling on the other earbuds. Well, so when I talk about being retired from dating and relationships, part of that is I have deal breakers such as no psych meds. That's a deal breaker. So that right now I just eliminated at least 40% of adult women that are in my age range that I would consider. I used to say 35. I think I'd push it to maybe 42 if for some insane reason I was going to go back to dating and relationship. And that's all based on menopause. Because in a world in which women are, and this is, I don't like to insult the ladies, but this is reality. In a world in which women have no trouble, uh, having to go at men based on certain things about men, right? Especially around earning a living, certain access to resources. Which, when I was a youngin, starting to date and have girlfriends, they didn't give a fuck about my earning potential, right? Or the prestige of what kind of job I might be able to get, right? But just like women are looking for something particular, and there's just the fact is, unless I know myself to be to actually not be capable of offspring, and if the purpose of dating and relationships is to create new people, right? Why would I ever want to be in a romantic relationship with a woman who's past the age in which she can bear a child? Menopause. When there's 35-year-olds. And actually, if I just wanted to go out and attract somebody to have a relationship with, who would be the easiest people to get in a relationship with would be a woman about the age of 25, honestly. I really don't have any interest in any of these women, to be honest with you. But I do like women, right? Which is probably the best evidence for me not actually being gay, at least not psychologically, is that most actual psychologically homosexual men actually hate women. Like, not only do I not hate women, I actually like them and always have. And I mean outside of sexuality. Just, there's something endearing about their goofiness. Y'all know you're goofy, ladies. That's why that Captain Marvel, if you think about this Captain Marvel movie but Captain Marvel's a lady in the movie. Well, the reason why that doesn't work is because men who like women, we need a little bit of goofiness. Most of us, we respond to goofiness. You know, give us a little bit of goofiness goes a long way. But back to the yang, the people are not examining these concepts at the basic level, right? So that's how you can end up with EBT and Drew and Toilet Bowl Earth, these three different YouTube channels, the content creators, who all three claim to be, church going Christians to some extent, as far as I'm aware. I might be wrong, but then have no problem operating within a concept of cuckoldry, as far as at least thinking about it, making fun of people who might have a proclivity towards seeing their woman dominated, right? Well, surprise, surprise. What does the realm honor? It honors yang. It honors domination. It honors assertiveness, right? All of these things that the culture in which I was socialized in the most rough and tumble, historically the most impoverished, rough and tumble, dangerous uh, area of the country. Not the only area of the country like that, but the one who the area that arguably personified a lot of that, you know, demanded that I uh, learn how to embody masculine characteristics to the nth degree, or to face to be ostracized from society, meaning I would never be fully accepted within my own local society back then without showing and proving those masculine characteristics. And all the boys had to do that, whether they wanted to or not. And whatever mama thought about it did not enter into the picture, because mama knows that culturally she can't be, if there's going to be one or two mamas and their boy never passes into manhood, she's not going to be one of those women. Now, how is she going to be accepted? And this is how, by the way, I'm lecturing on sociology, right? Now it's become a sociology lecture. Like, this is what it is. I did not make it this way. Do not kill the messenger. I'm merely lecturing now on sociology. That's what. Go read us. Look, you don't have to, but if one were to go begin reading fucking sociology 101 textbooks and study it, and make notes and draw and then write a paper at the end of the book, I could give you a topic and you would probably turn out a paper pretty close to what I just said. If I gave you if you're the AI and I give you the proper inputs, right? Or more correctly, if you are the intelligence and I give you the proper inputs after you read the textbook, you'll probably come up with something pretty close to what I just said. But I've already read the textbooks and I've already stored up a bunch of data through my own observation and experience. And I'm giving my mind the inputs. That's how I just came up with all of that, and then realized, oh, that's right. I'm lecturing on sociology now. It's a sociology lecture until it's not. But you can see in the past. Now, why did my society indoctrinate me and the other boys in such a way, and indoctrinate the mothers in such a way? It was not because that society was superior to this society. It wasn't. It's not because the people were more moral or more responsible than the people today. That's not correct. It's because what benefited the system at that point in time was to have human beings exhibit specific characteristics in order to give the system what the system needed at that point of history, which was to build up the country by going into employment, by behaving responsibility to build up what is now this version of dystopia, to build all of the industrial facilities that are now collapsing when Benton drives into certain areas of Memphis and backs up to a dock, right? Or goes there twice in a row and leaves without a load. And why is he leaving without a load? Because those areas have now been left to rot and decay for so long that they don't even really function much of the time. So, two different times I've driven to the exact same, in fact, the exact same facility in Memphis, a new customer for the company I'm working with, and drove there and left there without a load. And then went to a part of Memphis with newer facilities to pick up a load. Is this a coincidence? Did the system not understand when it churned out humans generations ago who were capable of showing up and creating a production facility in 1958 in Memphis, Tennessee, near the downtown, that then year after year after year after year had a steady supply of people who were responsible enough and able and willing to show up there in order to earn a wage to raise their families? Did they do it because they were better people, or did they do it because that's what the system demanded of them? Via what? Sociology, psychology, anthropology, through their own programming, but not their programming, through the system's programming. How do I? How am I the only one on here who's able to verbalize all of this in this form? Because I am that one. That's why. And you're not, and that's okay because you are that one in another way. This is what I mean by I am optimistic. I have full faith in the transcendent potential of an individual. And if you're not sure what I mean, all you have to do is go look up the meanings of the words. The transcendent, whatever that specific definition is, potential, whatever that specific definition is, of an individual, whatever that definition is. And if a person actually is autistic enough to go read the definition of all three of those words, they will know exactly what in the fuck I mean right now. That's what I have faith in. But the potential, not that an individual will realize the potential, because when reading the definition of the word potential, one will be able to grasp, oh, that's right. The potential is not necessarily realized, or more correctly, at times the potential is necessarily unrealized by a fucking definition. What do you want from me? I have, I could not be more pessimistic when you take all of those individuals and you create a mass and you call them the American people. I could not be, and then you deputize, then the system deputizes that mass and sends them off with battle orders, and those battle orders only ever strengthen the system. And this is Kaczynskiism. This is Uncle Tedism, what I'm now speaking on. And if that was a real person, he's one of the most intelligent, highest IQ individuals ever recorded. And that was more or less his life's work. Again, official fiction level. That's his life's work. Kaczynskiism. So I'm a Kaczynskiist in that framework. There's no there is no actual logical reason until someone presents me with a actual valid logical coherent argument that can withstand my rebuttals, that there's any reason whatsoever to be optimistic, right? Other than the fact that as a human being, contained within me is a thing I refer to as a hope station. Yes, I understand that seemingly all of us are, containers for a hope station. That's not enough. I need a logical, rational, coherent argument, please. Until that crops up, I'm going to assume that's not a thing, meaning there is no logical, rational, coherent reason to believe in anything positive at the level of the American mass, the proletariat in this country. In fact, the only mass I see that has their shit together in the ways in which this system honors, right? What this system honors and upholds, the only mass of people I see that actually may have their shit together is the so-called elites or the actual rich people. Not that their lives are successful necessarily, not based on what I honor. Their lives are actually the opposite because they're certainly embodying wickedness in order to be rewarded to these levels. In fact, a person born into actual wealth in this realm, wouldn't that almost guarantee that their bloodline got that way by honoring and serving Satan himself? And thus Satan would want a reasonable assurance that the each subsequent new generation is going to use that wealth to continue to serve Satan, right? I'm now describing what most Americans aspire to, not understanding that it's effectively impossible. Most Americans would aspire to joining that so-called elite. If only we were all Diddy now, right? You think motherfuckers wouldn't trade places with Diddy? You want to talk about a cuck chair? How about would you trade places with Diddy? And I don't mean in the jail. I mean his net worth, his level of fame, all of these things, his power and influence. Now, some of you would want all that, but would be like, yeah, well, I'm not trading places with a black fella. Fair enough. Find a Caucasian of you know, uh, similar levels of wealth and power and influence who's Caucasian and similarly disgraced. You trade places with whatever that is. Whoever that may be. Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I keep forgetting the second verse, and then I remember it. And then I keep mixing the second verse with the first verse somehow. Funny how the mind works. Well, praise Almighty God. What a blessing. It's almost time for apricots. And then after that, we're going to have beets. It's interesting, understanding how to eat for testosterone and all of this. Uh, and part of that is just making sure to get whatever the body is lacking nutrition wise to make the testosterone. And for me, it's been beets lately. I eat a jar of beets and my testosterone goes through the roof. But then for somebody else, it might not matter, but if they may not be lacking whatever is in beets that apparently my body's been lacking. But testosterone is very yang. We're talking about all this talking about yang and the realm being unbalanced and encouraging everyone to go out and assertively dominate through the yang energy. And what's more yang than testosterone? Mm. So much so that women are on it now. It's actually becoming normalized and fairly common for women to be on testosterone. How about that? What I would say to the women is go for it, but if you think you're going to produce the amounts I used to produce in my teens, 20s, and well into my late 30s, measured by science as high testosterone, if a woman thinks she's going to get to those levels and stay there, well, that's fine, but those vocal cords are going to be affected, and your voice finna change, lady, among other side effects. Hot Springs, Arkansas, off 30. I remember when I was a rookie, they wanted to send me to Hot Springs from up on I-40. And the GPS on the Qualcomm, the route sends the truck through a fucking scenic bypass, like a scenic byway or whatever, scenic highway. And people from Arkansas, we don't go that way in a car. We go the long way. And they wanted me to take a big rig, and they're wanting me to go pick a load up that day. And I called them on the phone. I said, that's 3 hours. I said, what are you talking about? Because they're looking at the map. I said the route the Qualcomm gives. I said, I'm from here. I said, we don't drive that in a car. You think I can? And I said, it's nothing but RVs and people on vacation seeing the sights. That's 30 miles an hour the whole way. Right. We might just stop in the road here and there. I said, I'll go there and pick the load up, but I'm going all the way to Little Rock, and I'm going 40 to till 4:30 or whatever, and then I'm going 30, and then I'm going 270. That's 3 hours from where I'm at. This is 3 hours from Russellville, people. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, I'll go pick the load up, but not today. And then when I got there the next day, a real sweet black lady, probably a little younger than me, not too much though, maybe a little bit, and she didn't know no better, and I wouldn't have known no better. So she went the fucking scenic route as a as an inexperienced rookie driver. I said, "Damn, I feel bad for you." I said, "We don't." I said, "We don't take that in a car unless we want to see the sights." You know. Of course, that's probably part of why the company will even use that route, is they know that the most of the time the trucker's not going to be able to go fast enough to really fuck up, and probably it's good for the driving skills, right? So it's actually probably serves the corporation. You know, now that I think about it. But it's no fun for the driver. The driver's like, damn, what the hell is this? It's just a never ending series of fucking hairpin turns in a friggin' 18 wheeler, crawling up and down hills behind RVs. What even is this? That's what I told him. I said, you're not getting me on that route in a big rig. I promise you that. That is not going to happen. And again, if I wasn't from here and didn't scrutinize the map enough to realize, oh, wait a minute, that's marked as a scenic fucking highway through a national forest, right? Probably ought not go that way. Is it 65, bitch? Is that what you're trying to say? I'm not speeding. What is this? Is this because this used to be a construction zone and now it's not? See, this is what happens when the AI runs our lives. It's 65. This used to be a 55 because it took so long to work on the road that eventually the computer figured out, oh, it's actually a construction zone. It's 55. And it's going to take just as long for the computer to figure out, oh, it's back to 65. Because in an information age where all of these various systems don't actually talk to each other like they should, right? And that is torture of the individual. Now I get to be tortured, right? So now I can speed. Now it'll let me speed 3 miles an hour, except I'm under the speed limit because technology runs my life. At least while I'm driving. Now it's look 70. There's a 70 sign. I'm going 58. So well, is it now going to let me go 65? We'll see. At what speed is she going to start scolding me again? About to be passing through Benton, Arkansas, by the way. That's always fun. I have a county also, but it's not in this part of the state. It's up there. Actually, it's where Walmart's headquarters are in Benton, or sorry, Benton County, Arkansas. As is JB Hunt, Tyson Foods. I think that's about it. Yeah, JB Hunt Trucking and Tyson Foods. All right, we're about to pull over. I do need to rinse the old mouth out and head for the apricots and the beets. And if anybody wants to know what it's like to drive a big rig, way back minutes ago when I said, "Hey, there's the 70 sign," I started speeding up, and I haven't made it past 60 with my foot on the accelerator the entire time. I just now made it to 64, so it's not quite like driving a car in that respect. Trying to find somewhere to pull over. Pull over. Pull over. Pull over. I don't know why you're flashing your brights at me, person. Did you think I was coming into your lane? That's the four-way flashers, bub. Oh, shit. Fucked up. I failed to see the on ramp. And, as I was pulling onto the shoulder, then a car was coming. But I was watching, of course. That one lone car, which is I find fascinating in truck driving, how often I need to make a maneuver, and there's just that one car there somehow. Happens to me in Houston a lot too, and in Dallas on the like on the side roads. It's like there's not traffic, but there's a kind of a weird merge off of the interstate, and somehow there's that one car magically. And it's not confirmation bias. I'm aware of what confirmation bias is. I'm applying the mathematics correctly in accounting for the times in which there is in fact no car there. But the frequency at which there's one and exactly one car there is it's not really probable mathematically. The frequency with which that occurs. It's improbable, more correctly. All right. Not that we need the time, because we're not going to get anywhere near the 11 hours of drive time today. Famous last words. We shouldn't be able to, I should say. What's wrong with these curtains? Hang on. Going off duty. Oh, yeah. Maybe. Where's my logs? Did the logs crash? What's going on here? I think they did. Yeah. Oh, it says loading. Okay. Yeah, load them logs. Technology, am I right? I drove 2 hours almost. Are you going to let me go off duty? Aha. You've done it. And where's my water? There's my water. Oh, and see, it was technically within reach. I just did not know where it was. Ah. Hmm. Yeah, buddy. Yay, kidneys. Good job. Shout out to my kidneys. Shout out to how many calories? Let's see. We're about to have the beets. I'm sorry, the apricots. 4.5 servings, 70 calories per serving, 280. It's about 320 ish. And the beets are not very high in calories. 140 total. So whatever that is, close to 600. I don't know. And how many gram of carb? We're all scared of carbs. A whole jar of pickled beets is 35 gram of carb. And the apricots, I think it's about 100. Let's see. 20, no, not quite, but yeah, 90. So I was close. So a little over 100 gram of carb. Oh, yeah. A little bit of fiber. Maybe a tiny amount of protein, not much, if at all. But remember, they've got everybody scared of carbs and obsessed with protein. Yeah, I'm not sure that's the way to a healthy diet. They meaning the system, of course. Hang on, let me drain these jars real quick like. Shit. If I was smart, I'd keep some of these old jars and just drain into the old jars instead of into the trash can as I'm doing. But so far, the bags have not sprung a leak. Trash can's still clean. The made in China, most likely, plastic trash can from Walmart. $6.50, I think. Oh, I can't. Well, I can't do that anyway because I haven't consumed the jar of apricots yet. So into the old trash can we go. Not we. Skippy, skippy, yay for Benton! Yay! Food. What a blessing. Fill the water up, get on the road. Fill up the water jug. And ooh, chocolate later. Chocolate's been doing me good. I think I talked about that yesterday. Cocoa. Cacao is raw chocolate that hasn't been alkalized. Cocoa typically would refer to alkalized. Dutch alkalized. So the hippy dippy folks might say, well, you want the rawest form. And it's like, yeah, but the other says it's alkalized. Oh, I thought it was also like make the body alkaline, which obviously couldn't the body then become too alkaline? Well, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and alkalize your stomach acid too much and see what that does for you. Right? You don't want alkaline stomach acid. It's not even acid at that point. Whatever's in the stomach. Got so much bullshit on the floor, I can't even get into the seat here. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Oh, I forgot my fanny pack. Damn it. Did all that climbing. All right. I think we got it. I hope we got it. Oh, we better. 6 minutes. That wasn't bad. Not that, again, there's no rush. This, let's see. I don't even have the GPS on. I'm just on the. I'll get on 40, and then I'm just on 40 the rest of the day, I believe. Well, yeah, I know actually. Although I think we're going through Nashville, so technically I'll be on different roads, but I'll still leave Nashville on 40. I guess I'll take a break and eat. But as y'all know, I might then. Well, probably we'll just end it. I think that was good enough. Probably talked out for now. All right, we're out. Thanks for listening, watching. Bye.